Welcome in. The bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. We're going to change things up a little bit in the way the show will start going forward because we've got a new partner on deck, Kickoff Coffee. Make sure you are checking them out. Really cool soccer company. Soccer fans created this coffee company, specialty coffee, made by soccer fans for soccer fans. You can start every Soccer Down Here show with Kickoff Coffee. You can have some shipped conveniently to your front door by visiting kickoffcoffeeco.com to place an order. Use our promo code SoccerDownHere15 to receive 15% off. And one of the cool things and one of the reasons why we've wanted to partner with Kickoff Coffee for a while, first off, I've known the group that started this for a long, long time, going way back into my Soccer in the Streets days. So very, very cool that it's people that are kind of the family, you know, but also you guys know how we feel about soccer for good. 10% of the proceeds from every bag of coffee that Kickoff Coffee sells goes to organizations that use soccer to promote youth social development in underserved areas. So organizations like Soccer in the Streets, organizations like the Atlanta Youth Organization from our friends Greg Garza and Michael Parkhurst and Adam Beckman, all kinds of organizations worldwide that need help. Kickoff Coffee, not just delivering great coffee, but also delivering some help out there for people in need. So in this little opening segment that we'll do every day, presented by Kickoff Coffee, of course, we will kind of set the menu for what we're going to do today. So today, it is the U.S. Open Cup round of 16. So we're going to talk about the 8 matches that take place tonight. We're going to talk to Dylan Butler joining us on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday because we took Tuesday off because we were kind of busy with stuff. So Dylan Butler will join us to talk about the weekend that was in MLS. I'm sure we're going to talk some Open Cup, and we will talk about the weekend that is upcoming. Lots of news and rumor and innuendo. The Chelsea deal is done. You've got a Europa Conference League final today. All kinds of things for us to sink our teeth into. So, again, make sure you're visiting kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's where you can place an order for your coffee. Use the promo code SoccerDownHere15 to receive 15% off. And just know that every bag that you buy, 10% of the proceeds are going to support soccer-based youth development organizations worldwide. So thank you to the folks over at Kickoff Coffee for partnering with us. Thank you to Scott Flood of the Flood Project. Thank you to everybody at American Football Provisions for making this happen. And let's get this show underway. Here's the guys. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the soccer world today. We've got Open Cup, which is going to create chaos, Jarrett. And I know you were very excited about the draw with Nashville going to Louisville.
That's all? Okay, cool. I'll roll that.
I'm trying to let you go with it and not take the material away. Well, you set the table here.
Well, in a piece I put up on soccerdownhere.net for the 4231 from the last week. There you go, buddy. My one thing to look forward to was tonight, basically. I mean, and part of it is last night as well. You do have the Canadian Championship, which can get weird, but it doesn't get nearly as weird as US Open Cup.
No.
That's not to take away from teams like Hartford, who can go up there and maybe slap a couple people around every now and then, but it's not nearly as chaotic. It doesn't have nearly the same level of...
Well, Hartford's going to Canada to beat people up now?
I'm sorry, not Hartford. Who was it? Who was not Hartford? I was thinking of the Whalers because I'm thinking NHL because of
I'm like, what's
NHL
going on? Did Hartford
I was watching NHL playoffs
leave the
last
country
night.
as you should have.
I think Halifax.
Halifax Wanderers. Is that who
The
you were trying?
Wanderers.
Yes.
Yes,
They
Halifax.
They 2-1 lost to Toronto last night, and Pacific FC and York United 2-2 after regulation. It went to penalties, and it was York United who go through 4-3 on penalties.
Yeah. It doesn't have the same magic and chaos, but the US Open Cup is just going to be it's going to be weird if for no other reason. Like think about, and I mentioned this about Nashville. Nashville's played double game weeks for the last 3 weeks now.
Yeah, they're in the midst of
That's
an
gonna
8-in-28 run.
that's brutal. I don't care who
Mhm.
you are. And Nashville has built some depth in their time in the league. But that's still brutal because you consider the fact that one of those was 120 minutes against Atlanta in the Open Cup. Last weekend, excuse me, they had a 3-hour rain delay against Atlanta. Nashville's been getting results, but it hasn't been perfect. And
Well, Jarrett, we saw the effects of all of this play late in the game when Alex
yeah,
Muyl was running down the middle of the field and Luis Araujo slides to block a pass to the left. And Alex Muyl, I mean, he's so exhausted, he just fell down in the middle of the pitch.
Yeah.
the man just felt man's body just quit on him.
Yeah.
The legs just
Powell.
gave out and they went flying behind him and the arms kind of went up. And I mean, it's crazy. I've never seen anything like that.
Sometimes your body just gives up, bud.
Air gets out of the tires at the most, the most late moment sometimes.
Look, it's going to be a very chaotic setup tonight because you have that, and that game could get out of control, like cards going everywhere.
Violence, kicking
it could
people.
also get really cagey and really tight. I mean, aside from that, you have Orlando
Lou City,
playing.
just in case you haven't seen Lou City, they have changed a little bit in the way that they want to play under Danny Cruz, who I don't know if he's really being talked about very much in terms of up and coming coaches. Seeing Lou City earlier this year in Kennesaw, I'm so impressed with what he has done and how he's wanting that team to play and the team he's put together. Danny Cruz is somebody to watch as a potential top-level coach in this country. And Lou City's not a bomb it forward, sit back and defend kind of team. They're going to take it to Nashville, especially at home. And these teams don't like each other to begin with.
But if they get up, though, I think they can absorb it if they need to against a team like Nashville.
I don't think they'll park the bus, though.
I don't think they will, but if they're up,
they will.
If they're up a goal or two late in that game, they can absorb some blows.
Well, they're a good team. I mean, it's not so much like I don't want to set the
no, that's what I mean. I'm not saying that they're going to bunker.
Defensive.
I'm saying
I don't think so.
They're a good enough team to absorb blows, to stay organized, to get the job done there. It could be cagey. It should be a lot of fun. Orlando,
Nashville
Miami
will definitely be cagey. No way around it. Nashville will absolutely be cagey. I don't think Lou City is. I honestly think Lou City is the one who takes the initiative in this game. We'll see if they're good enough to take care of business, but I think they take the initiative.
Can Nashville avoid those early game doldrums that they've had at times? Because you got away with it against Atlanta. You don't want to, but you don't want to live like that. That's not a life anybody needs to live. Nope. So how do they deal with it? That would be interesting. You also have a couple more USL teams involved. The Murder Owls of Union Omaha are taking on Minnesota. I don't know what to make of Minnesota. Like, Minnesota's philosophy is Reynoso do things, Robin Lod be on the end of things.
Basically.
That's it. It's step 1 and step 2, profit. That's basically how Minnesota's going to operate.
But you also have profit there?
I mean, hey, you know what? They won last week.
They did.
Sacramento Republic playing San Jose, and dude, that's a 10:30 game. That's going to be so stupid.
Yeah.
Anything.
Like, San Jose already kind of broke reality by beating Seattle in, like, what was it, like an 8-round shootout, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you get and I Jason, you'll be happy to know I put this in the article. It is El Tráfico after that, and if a players want to come up with a new name, I'm happy to use it. If they don't like it and they want to come up with a new name, go for it, guys. I'll use whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's terrible. Somebody else.
I know you hate it.
I'm not the only one. Don't even put it like, because that's what everybody wants to play around.
You're the only one right here. You're the only one in
whatever.
My
that's fine.
Vicinity.
Last time I checked, there's more than 3 people in the world, Garrett, especially in the soccer world.
There's plenty of people who don't like it, but you're the one on the other end of this microphone, so you're getting to hear about it.
That's fine. I hear about it all the time. I don't like it. It's dumb.
If you want to have one that could be fun to watch, that's like sneaky. Hey, somebody might get like the Danny DeVito. So anyway, I came out blasting kind of energy. New York City's playing New England. New England still can't defend. Yeah. New York City is happy to just like How many goals can we score in 90 minutes? Let's find out together.
Yeah. It starts at 7:00 with Lou City, Nashville, Orlando,
Magno's
Miami.
just gonna absolutely drop a hammer on New England.
7:30 NYC, New England. 8:00 2 games. Minnesota hosting Omaha. Red Bulls hosting Charlotte. 8:30 Kansas City hosting Houston. Those two teams don't like each other either. And 10:30 double dip LA Galaxy, LAFC, and Sacramento and San Jose. What's the biggest potential upset here, John?
Union Omaha.
It doesn't have to be a cup set. No, it doesn't have to be a cup set. I said upset. I didn't say cup set.
Oh, okay. Well, I was still going to stick with Union Omaha and Minnesota United.
You think Omaha is seriously the most likely upset out of Lou City at home, Miami on the road, New England on the road? I'm assuming New England or NYC is favored. Yes, New England is a plus 320.
Yeah.
Charlotte at Red Bull Arena, where the Red Bulls have not won this season, and Charlotte's a plus 425.
Yep.
Dynamo at Kansas City. There's an underdog in the El Tráfico match, and it's the Galaxy right now, plus 138 at home. 145 is LAFC. And Sacramento, San Jose. Sacramento at home's a plus 200. Lou City's a plus 220.
Yeah.
You're going to say that Omaha at plus 450 at Minnesota, the USL League One team, is the most likely underdog to win tonight.
Oh, you want the most likely underdog to win.
Oh, my goodness. Just pick something seriously and go.
Well, then I'll go with Lou City. I mean, because also you combine the notion, Jarrett, with the loss to Monterey Bay that happened this past weekend for Lou City.
How does that make them more likely to win?
I just think that they're going to come in angry.
They're angry.
They're angry?
Yeah. It's like we got shown up by the worst team, one of the worst teams in USL Championship, who travels from home.
It felt like a looking ahead thing.
That's what it felt like. I don't know if that helps you in the second game. I think we're going to throw El Tráfico out because that's basically a toss-up.
Yeah.
I think New England can absolutely go and win at New York City because New England is good. They're leaking goals like crazy, but they're good. Miami and Orlando. Miami's a plus 400. Miami is coming off of a good performance this weekend. Can they do it again?
I don't know what to make of Orlando. Like Orlando,
I don't either. They look great and they look terrible, like back-to-back games. I really don't know what to make of them.
That's the thing. If you look at their advanced numbers, Orlando's like so far over their own head right now. They're dodging airplanes, like due to come crashing back down to earth at some point. But they've also
played two of the most G+ numbers, Jarrett.
We are talking G+ numbers. We're
talking G+. Are we talking XG? Are we talking all of these different things?
We're talking the fact that they're not creating much. Like they're just not creating much. They're getting
pretty reliant on Maurizio Pereira.
They are pretty reliant on him, and they're getting
not quite Reynoso level of reliance, but it's close.
So how much do you want to split hairs here between the concept of I'm creating something versus I'm getting a gift from somebody else? Because Austin handed them two really good opportunities, which they took advantage of. And you can create your own luck. You can also have unforced errors by the other team. And Orlando's good at taking advantage of those, but someone gets up on them. Yeah, absolutely, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But someone gets up on them and shuts down shop. I got problems with you. I got questions about what you can do going forward. And you've also played, if you're Orlando, in two of at least one of the Montreal game was one of the most embarrassing games I watched this year from a team that looked like they just didn't want to be there.
Yeah, could have been worse. Absolutely could have been worse with Orlando City and Montreal.
I am thinking that the most likely underdog, again, throwing the El Tráfico out of it because it's pretty much a toss-up. The most likely underdog to win, I'm going to go with Sacramento at home over San Jose because I just wonder how seriously Alex Covello takes the Open Cup here. I know you're in the round of 16, but they've been really good as of late. Do they roll out the first choice again, knowing they're going to roll them out one more time on the weekend? Or do they try to rotate? And if they try to rotate, I think they have a big fall off. And Sacramento at home is a good enough team to take advantage of that. Lou City's in this as well. I really like Lou City. I think Nashville's a much better team and has more depth than San Jose. I think if San Jose rotates here, they're going to get caught. And I think Sacramento is the one that I like. I am not ruling out Miami going to Orlando and winning, though.
Yeah.
And then the memes and comments we will hear about that one. Good grief.
See, that's where my brain is at with that one. Just if for no other reason, the fact that Orlando, like, okay, permission to be petty for a moment.
Granted,
Miami shouldn't be here.
Hold on. John can't grant the permission, and Jared, like anybody's ever had to ask to be petty on this show.
In the name of our friends in Statesboro, hey, Miami probably shouldn't be here if their goalkeeper does not stand on his head, because they should have shipped 3 goals to Tormenta in the first half of that game. Now, granted, credit to Miami because they came back in the second half and they played really well and they won that game. It was scrappy. It was weird. They also don't have Robbie's not available for this game because he lost his damn mind for no good reason in that game against Tormenta. Their goalkeeping is good enough to cause you problems like that. Can they recreate it? I mean, because like it's a very weird thing. I feel like that's not a bad one to look at if you're looking for a likely upset. But I don't really know what to do with either one of these teams.
Yeah, I mean Orlando's the better team, but I don't trust them game to game. Miami is good enough to go in there and be defensive and get the job done. I mean, Omaha going to Minnesota is going to be really tough. There is a pretty big gap in quality there, but Omaha has shown that they can go on the road against an MLS team, Chicago,
yes,
and take care of business. Look, Charlotte and Red Bulls. I don't understand the Red Bulls at all. I have not all season. They have been great on the road until this weekend and bad at home. They're at home here. They are the kind of a team that will have these dips because if fatigue factors into them, it can affect the way they play, maybe stronger than some other teams. Charlotte is starting to get some things locked in. They actually have wingers now. I know, imagine that. It's crazy. They're actually building a team that Miguel Angel Ramirez can work with and have more variety than having to throw them into a 4-4-2 diamond because that's all he's got that can get results, which is something he's never really done. Playing a diamond is not really the Miguel Angel Ramirez way, but he's got wingers now. I really like Vargas, the young Colombian they bring in from Portugal. He looked good. He's very raw. He's very young. Josviak, good player as well. I wonder if they give Vargas a longer run out here, and Vargas running at some of the Red Bulls players could cause them problems. I would not be shocked if Charlotte goes in and beats the Red Bulls at Red Bull Arena. I absolutely would not be shocked.
I wouldn't be either. My caveat to this being, Jason, and I'll take both of y'all's opinions on this. A team like Charlotte, like Miguel Angel Ramirez, is going to want the ball, and he's gonna have plenty of it. Can they keep it and not turn it over and play into what Red Bulls wants to do, where someone from Charlotte loses their mind for a minute, makes a mistake in possession, and Red Bulls is able to pounce on it? Because even if Red Bulls rotates a bit, you have that system where they're just going to pull some kid that you haven't heard of who's been playing for the Baby Bulls and plug him in and expect him to do a good enough job. I do not hate taking Charlotte in this at all, but as much as they're going to want the ball, I do want them to be careful with possession and not play into what Red Bulls can take advantage of you for, because teams have gone into Red Bull Arena this year a couple times and said, cool, we don't want the ball. Here you go, Red Bulls. You can have it. We're not going to take the initiative of the game. Just because you don't want it doesn't mean we have to take it.
The thing about Charlotte that worries me here, and maybe this is blasphemy in their young franchise, the player who worries me the most in those moments is Christian Fuchs.
Yeah.
I think Christian Fuchs has lost about 5 steps, and he's bad in possession at times, and they're having to play him as a center back. We talked about this when he was signed. He can't play left back in this league. He's going to get overmatched. We've seen it happen firsthand. You could play 3 center backs and have him as a left-sided center back. It's not really the way that Ramirez wants to play it. They've tried a little bit of that. They've gone away from it. they've played him as a center back. So that means you're sitting, I think, players who are a better fit for this team. Anton Walks, Christian McCoon. You're sitting them to play Fuchs at center back to have him on the field. And frankly, I think you're making the team worse in that way. I know the leadership is a big thing with him. I know he was a big face of the team when he was signed, but I don't think he's a better center back today, 2022, in this league. I don't think he's a better center back in general than some of these guys, but he's not a center back. He's been a left back, but he can't play left back in this league right now. I don't think he's a better center back option than Anton Walks or Christian McCoon. I think both of them are better on the ball. Both of them are better under pressure. Both of them are more mobile. Both of them fit the way that Ramirez wants to play more. And I'm wondering when we get into this international break and Ramirez has some time to really explore bigger changes, if that is one of the things that he explores. And that's not going to be an easy one because he is the captain. He is a leader. But I don't think he helps make the team better.
Yeah, and we'd have to check with Jess or Willie P out there in Charlotte. I think Walks has just been not been able to stay healthy.
I don't think it's an injury issue with him at this point. No.
Okay.
He was getting his green card at one point.
Okay, that's
what
the
injury was very early.
Yeah, okay. I knew there was one. I wasn't sure if it was still a thing, but yeah, the green card thing makes sense as well.
But I think he's back from that too. If I'm not mistaken.
But I mean, so if he's able to get in the flow of things, that's something you have to consider. And look, you can have a leader who's not on the field for 90 minutes and still be a very impactful player on that organization in Christian Fuchs. But
yeah, you can't make your team worse to put him on the field. I don't think it's the way to go. But we'll have to wait and see what they do. Be curious to see their lineup tonight, how much they rotate.
Yeah, but that's a good shout. I mean, that's going to be one to watch as well. Man, I don't know what to make of Houston's Sporting Kansas City. I'll let y'all figure yourselves out in the corner, and you let me know when you're done.
Yeah, I mean, Houston is getting better. I think they're still a work in progress. Sebastian Ferreira has been a really nice pickup for them from Paraguay. They're a better team. Paulo Nagamura is a good coach. He's actually been able to get some pieces in. I think Tab Ramos was there at the wrong time and didn't have the resources to actually be able to do anything he wanted to do. Nagamura is good. Nagamura knows Sporting Kansas City inside and out. He was Sporting Kansas City 2's coach for a long time. He's going to know if Kansas City goes depth here, and they might, I don't know. Or Peter Vermes could throw everything into this tournament because it's their best chance of anything this season. We'll have to see. But even throwing everything into it, they're still not at 100%. They've had a bunch of injuries as well. I think Houston is getting there. They can pull an upset here. They can, but they're on the road, and generally they have not been good on the road. So I'm not buying into Houston. El Tráfico is a toss-up. Sacramento's not a huge underdog at home. The biggest underdog on the board is Omaha at plus 450. Charlotte's second at 425, and Miami's third at 400. Omaha's the least likely,
Charlotte.
But 425 and 400 for Miami and Charlotte in those games.
Yeah,
I'm not shocked by those. I mean, I'm not shocked about those coming good if they do at all.
Yeah, 425 is I would jump at that with Charlotte.
That's if you got a fiver, you want to throw it at it, go for it.
Yeah, throwing some stale peeps that are about to expire.
There you go.
I don't know if peeps expire actually.
No, they don't because they're gross.
That is true.
They're always gross.
I didn't know you had peeps takes. All right, cool.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Making note of that.
Awful.
They're
no, that's fine. I'm not going to fight over that. I didn't know you had peeps takes.
Oh yeah, no, I have strong peeps takes. They're horrendous.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you've got to be extra careful if you're a peeps person as to what you drink, because then you get aftertaste and it makes it worse.
Yeah, that's what you got to be careful about. How about just not eating it in the first place?
Well, that's the first and foremost. I agree with you there. I'm not a peeps person either, but in those instances,
well, it sounds like you are because you're getting detailed about your after
peep.
Yeah, that's gross.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, whatever you want to call it. Yes.
Yeah, but no, it's when I have had peeps in the past, and this is probably a good 75 years ago, and those peeps that I had then are probably still good now.
Yes,
you have to be very, very careful what you drink, because then you get that tinny aftertaste, and it just makes the whole thing work.
Tinny.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is honestly. I think this means I should leave.
Yeah, I think so, but it just makes it feel like you're, eating the inside of a tin can with the bad peeps versus liquid mix.
See, I have never caught a ride on a rail car in 1933, so I've never eaten a tin can.
Yeah, what? Why are you eating tin cans, John?
I'm just saying that's the
Alex agrees with you for
Well, how
what
do
it's
you
worth.
know what it tastes like? How do you know what a tin can tastes like? I have no idea what a tin can tastes like.
Probably stuff that I did when I was incredibly little and curious.
You ate tin cans when you were little?
Just kind of gnawed on them a little bit, yeah.
You gnawed on tin cans when you were little?
Uh-huh. Or actually,
I'm done.
it was aluminum. It wasn't tin.
I'm tapping out.
What? Bye, Jarrett.
Bye, Jarrett.
This is Dylan's problem now.
Yeah, it is. Okay, Dylan, we need your help.
Do we though? Do we really?
We do. We really do. I do you know what a tin can tastes like? Because
Or
John does somehow.
Or an aluminum can.
Or an aluminum
Metallic,
can.
I'd imagine. I don't know. Like,
you're guessing though. You've never tried to eat one, correct?
I don't suspect they taste like peanut butter.
No.
That is accurate, sir. Yes.
Or gnaw on one, as John says he did when he was a kid. The more important question is, what is your take on the Easter candy Peeps?
Oh yes.
I'm Team Peeps.
Oh no,
no.
Yeah,
that's not good. I can't.
I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I'm not against it.
You're not against it. I'm against it. I'm definitely against it.
I'm definitely anti-peep. But now, are you like the normal? There's like the normal generic first run, or do you like the offshoot flavors and things like that
of the Peeps?
Yeah.
No, like old school.
Okay.
Just check. No, I'm not going all the newfangled Peeps. No.
Okay.
You don't like candy corn, do you?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, now we're still good. We're still good. Yes. I was going to get a little bit worried if you came in on Team Candy Corn too.
Oof, yeah.
How are you on Team Upset in the U.S. Open Cup tonight? You've got a few interesting ones on the board. We were just going through kind of our thoughts on some of these games, and the three biggest underdogs on the board: Omaha at Minnesota. Not a shock. It's League One on the road in Minnesota. I think Omaha can give them a game, but I'm not shocked they're the biggest underdog. Next is Charlotte at Red Bull Arena. And next is Miami at Orlando.
But not at Red Bull Arena. I don't know if that affects.
Okay, not at Red Bull Arena. Where's Red Bull playing?
They're in Montclair. They're at their
in front of tens of people. Okay.
It would have been the same at Red Bull.
Yeah, it's about the same thing.
So that's why they go to Montclair.
The attendance. Which one of those do you think is the most likely upset to come good?
I'm going Union Omaha.
Really? Why?
Yes, because I don't think Minnesota is. I don't know if he's anti-youth players, but Adrian Heath is not big into the young players, right? So he shipped out Mason Toy, right? Like he's got his core. He doesn't really deviate past that group. And again, I don't think he's done a good job or that the club has done a good job of like youth development and sticking with good young players. These are the matches that you give those guys the opportunity. So if we see some guys trot it out, younger players, they've got almost no experience unless they're playing with two. So I think because of that, because then you're dealing with a lot of fixture congestion and guys with maybe some heavy legs, against the Union Omaha side who technically already has a cup set, even though the Fire are struggling right now. So, but that's still a cup set for them. So they beat an MLS side. So that's a couple of the reasons I'm going to go with that one.
We will probably see Open Cup specialist Adrian Hunau in this game. We haven't really seen him much in MLS.
And that's why he's been signed, right? Like,
yeah. Don't want to play the kids in the Open Cup. Let's sign a designated player for Open Cup specialist duty. What do you think about Charlotte's possibilities here going in? They struggled a little bit more. By the way,
we skipped right over the Canadian Championship.
We did.
Halifax and Toronto.
Halifax Wanderers, baby.
Dude, that was amazing. I was on that match last night. First of all, it was at the Wanderers grounds, which is the name of their.
That is the name of the place.
The Wanderers Grounds.
Wanderers Ground.
Grounds, plural. Yeah. So there's a few different grounds. 6,500 people packed it out. Great atmosphere. a ho-hum first half. Toronto strikes first. So you're figuring, oh, there go the Wanderers, right? And they fight back. A big goal, probably one that Quentin Westberg should have had, but nonetheless, now it's up for grabs. It's 1-1, an unfortunate own goal at the end, although it really should have been an Osorio goal. But that was a lot of fun, man. That was I don't know. I love the U.S. Open Cup, but I don't know. Maybe the Canadian Championship, especially the earlier rounds, I think maybe it trumps it a little bit.
I don't think it trumps it. What I need out of Canada is I need more of the amateur Canadian teams getting in, because I think as much fun as we've had over the years in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup with Christos and some of the amateur teams that have advanced down the ranks, I think the amateur Canadian teams would be even better. I think you're going to get some crazy names, crazy stories,
and just the guys I remember early days covering the Open Cup, and it would be one of our local teams, like the Greek Americans or whoever out here, and the starting striker drives a cab, during the day.
I think the goalkeeper for Motown was a plumber this year.
See,
I mean, you're going to have some interesting side jobs.
More. You get some of those Northern Territory Canadian dudes.
He's a lumberjack in his days, right?
Yeah. They're a Mountie.
Yeah. We need a Mountie goalkeeper in Canada being the hero of the round.
Yeah, as the number 6, right? The guy just sort of patrolling.
He's got his horse just off to the side, and he goes riding up.
Some of those early games, maybe. I'm definitely demanding more expansion of the Canadian Championship. We need.
And listen, props to FS2. Picking up the one soccer feed. I don't know what else you got going on a Tuesday night, but you know what? Great for them to pop that on and allow a wider audience the opportunity to see some Ken Champ.
And when you've seen the CPL and you go to these venues, and when they had when they were coming through COVID and they had the tournament there in Halifax, it was just there at the venue, and they had all the superimposed green screen stands and things like that. But when they did have fans, you could see that venues like that are really warm and rabid at times. And I think it's cool to see, FS2 bringing the CPL and the Can-Cham and all. So I give them a tip of the hat too. But you get to
reminded me, it gave me that look of an FA Cup, early round, with
Grimsby Town.
Yeah, the smaller venues. And by the way, now I know where Stephen Hart ended up, right? The former Canadian head coach, right? He's leading the way at Halifax.
The growth of the lower divisions is a lot of fun on both sides of the border. You need to see more in the CPL, and that league has a lot of room to grow. We're seeing it here. I mean, we didn't see quite as many lower division teams advance, but you've got 3 here with Omaha as a 3rd division, and you've got 2 2nd division teams hosting in this round, with Lou City hosting Nashville and Sacramento hosting San Jose. That Louisville-Nashville game, I think, could be the game of the round. Lou City's a fun team to watch. Danny Cruz is a great coach. I really like what he's done with that team. And they're not going to come in and be scared of Nashville at all.
And on the other side, too, it would be a technical cup set because it's a lower division team beating a higher.
Technically, but I wouldn't be
surprised.
No,
but I was going to say, but would we be surprised by Sacramento, right? I wouldn't.
Yeah. No, Sacramento, I think, is the most likely underdog tonight to win, in my opinion, Sacramento.
Yeah.
I think you end up with, though, the Lou City history with Nashville and lower divisions, and, Lou City chasing after a championship in USL Championship, wanting to prove themselves against a higher division, a higher team in quotation marks, even though the history's there. I think that you've got a lot of fun across the board tonight with the lower division sides, whether it's League One or USL Championship, going up against MLS sides. And then, then you end up with, we were talking about Red Bulls playing at Montclair, and you've got Orlando City and Inter Miami. You don't know which Orlando City team you're going to have going up against Inter Miami
or how many will end up, playing the match.
That is absolutely true.
End up with 8 or 7 at the end. Who knows?
How many red cards does Orlando get? The craziest number from the weekend was, it was the 7th time since they started that Orlando's had two or more red cards in a game. Nobody else in that time frame has more than 4.
Yeah.
What's going on in Orlando?
It just feels like it's like a Church Street bar fight. Like once one guy goes, then it's just everybody's in, and it's just mayhem, right?
It's a
like
bar fight you want no part of.
No.
It's almost, what is it? FOMO. It's that the first guy goes in, and for fear of missing out, everybody else jumps in all of a sudden. It's like, yeah, that looks good. Let's go ahead and do it. And you don't know which Orlando team you're going to get. When it came to the weekend on the whole, what other teams did you sit there and have one opinion going in and then have a different opinion coming out?
That's a good question.
Austin? Are we on the up and down train with Austin again?
I think Houston, because last week I was like, I don't know, but now the body of work is looking pretty good. But then how much of that is now like LA's looking really bad, right? Like, so it's kind of trying to balance things out. But I think Houston was a team that I'm not fully like on board with just yet, but they've impressed me.
Yeah, I'm getting there with Houston. I'm getting there. I'm not quite there yet. I think Nagamura is a good coach. I think Ferreira was a good signing. They're heading in the right direction for sure. What'd you take out of Philadelphia getting back on the winning side of things after felt like 10 draws in a row? Not quite, about half that, but
yeah. And that second goal is massive, right? Like it was impressive the beginning, and you're watching it and you're like, wow, this is another really good road performance from them. And they're kind of bossing things, and they should have had another goal or two early, and it didn't come. And you're kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop, right? Like the Portland equalizer off a set piece or something like that, that now it's like, here we go again, right? With Philly. But they didn't, they did get that next goal. They did get the road result that they earned, that they deserved, to be honest. So I think that was a huge one for them, just for to get that monkey a little bit off their back, right? Like, because like you said, it's been so many draws, and so many of those draws coming from conceding from a winning position. So I think that was huge for them. And then also you get the pitch side camera / microphone picking up a pretty cool moment from Jim Curtin, which is always fun, right?
Yeah. And you also get Philadelphia's trainers trying to start arguments with Sebastian Blanco, which is always good. Always what you like.
MLS after dark.
Yeah. Philadelphia is embracing being the bad guys. They're doing a good job of it. The two teams, we talked about Houston, the two teams in Texas that every time I start to believe in these guys, they both give me pause. Austin with Orlando, we talked a little about that, but Dallas at home losing to Minnesota. What?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think what we learn in general, I would say, about MLS, but I guess it would apply to Dallas, is it's so hard to be consistently good through 32 games, right? Like there's going to be dips. All of the metrics were telling you that Dallas was an elite team, right? Like top tier MLS Cup contender type of team. Maybe they're not that. Maybe they're just on that next rung below, below an NYCFC, below an LAFC, below a Philadelphia. But yeah, I mean, everything was all the metrics were saying, like, with Ferreira, with Pamical back. I mean, like all these things, they're wingers, Velasco, like they were showing us all the reasons to believe in them. And then, they kind of have a dud against a Minnesota team that's laid a whole bunch of eggs leading up to that one. So that was big for them to get those points. But yeah, I mean, I almost feel like, we try to analyze each of these games each week, but sometimes it's just sort of like you just throw it up there, but like, MLS.
Yeah, I mean, the ones at home, absolutely. Like you go on the road and a good team doesn't get a result. Okay, we've seen that. We kind of know that's going to happen from time to time, and in this league, maybe more than often. But the home surprises are the ones that always catch me. Another team that didn't play well at home, and a team that I just can't figure out this year, is Columbus. Now, it was a crazy game with the delays. We went through it in Nashville too. But Columbus and LAFC, Columbus has not looked good at all this year. some of the metrics have shown they're closer than you might think, but the results have not shown any of that. And I just can't figure out what happened with Gyasi Zardes, why they get rid of him. They don't really have a like-for-like replacement. Miguel Berry's not that to me, and Eric Hurtado's not that to me, and they're not a dangerous team in the attack.
Yeah, and clearly the Molino thing just never worked out for them, right?
Just
like
cannot stay healthy.
It seemed like a great move at the time.
Good.
And then he's really not. I can't even tell you how many matches, but certainly not many since he signed with Columbus, right? So it feels like, and it's almost similar a little bit to Minnesota, like such a reliance on Zella Ryan, right? Just like 100%. With Reynoso. Now you do get a little production from Lod, but that's kind of it for Minnesota. But yeah, for Columbus, it's like, what do we get? Now you did have a great winger in Pedro Santos, I thought, who was such a nice compliment. Now you move him back. I loved Milton Valenzuela. You don't sign him. You say, all right, we got Pedro Santos, but you don't then fill that other void. Like, it's like you take dirt from one hole and then you fill another hole, but there's still a hole on the other side. Like, you don't, like, it's patchwork. It's not good. And this is supposed to, again, if you follow the whole Caleb Porter on again, off again, like this is
Hagen of coaches. Yes.
This is supposed to be an on year for him, right? Yeah. So that's another troublesome thing.
It has not been. Santos is, is he still a designated player? Is he a designated player left back being converted from winger now?
Yeah, I think so.
It's just Molino's played 11 games for them. He hasn't played this season. I mean, that one, okay, bad luck, injury. I mean, he had an injury history. You knew that was a risky one, but still,
right.
It's just, and when you go beyond, the lineup, I mean, Zelarayan has to carry everything. Barry has to play above his experience level. Yaboa comes in. You're asking a ton from him. They don't really play Luis Diaz very much. He hasn't developed at all under Caleb Porter and in Columbus.
I've always liked Etienne, but he's hot and cold as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is you look at like who could fix it. Alexander Matan was supposed to be a big-time Romanian playmaker coming in, and he hasn't hardly played, Aiden Morse hasn't gotten back into the team. It's a bunch of other good central midfielders. That's the hub of the team, but it's just Josh Williams keeps holding down a spot at center back. He keeps getting it. They can't get rid of him. They're just not very good. And I'm shocked that they went from 2020 winning everything to last year improving the roster on paper.
Yes.
And you had things go against you. Okay, that happens. It's Caleb Porter. The next year's going to be bad. But this year they've gotten worse. And I don't know how they fix it without investment, because the Zardes thing is still the most baffling, that you trade a borderline national team forward for good resources, but you don't have a replacement, and now you can't score goals.
Yeah, and you put all your eggs in that Berry basket, and maybe the thing with Berry was that he was good as a guy to play off of Zardes, right? And now you don't have that guy. Now he's got to be the guy. So much added pressure now on him. I think it's another gamble that's not worked out. And as you said, they're not only not getting better in the East, but so many teams around them are.
Yeah.
Right. Which makes it even more difficult, right? Like when you're not leveling up or even staying at where you are and you go down, that's, like you see it just Cincinnati, right? Just in Ohio itself, they're a better team, there's not much room to go up. Like you could say a DC or, Chicago, we had high hopes for early in the season. They seem to kind of, again, looking like a lower team in the East, a DC, a Toronto. Outside of those teams, like everybody else above them is a better team than they are, right? So
yeah, I think what surprised me about Columbus more than anything is we know the quality of Bezpachenko. We know the quality of Porter. You can not like his approach sometimes, whatever. That's fine. We know he's won multiple championships. He's a winner in this league. Bezpachenko is one of the better execs, and it just doesn't feel like a very well constructed plan here with this, where you're having to move a designated player to left back at 34. He's doing fine, but you've hurt yourself on the wing, and Derek Etienne has as many goals as your forwards. Barry's got 2 and Hurtado's got 1. Darlington Nagbe has 2 goals, and he's not a goal scorer, and he's got as many goals as Miguel Barry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't get it. I feel like there's something else there, because why else would you move on from Zardes the way you did? And then why else would, I know Porter walked the comments back, but why would you say the things you did after you made the deal? Just feels very, very odd to me. And I don't know if the 30 for 30 is ever going to come out on Columbus Crew in 2022, but it feels like there's something underneath the surface.
That'll be an interesting one.
Very weird. Very weird. Speaking of weird, I said after Atlanta equalized 1-1 in Nashville that the game was about to get stupid. I think I was correct.
You were.
That game was nuts.
I mean, listen, man, props to you guys. Just, I mean, you had to hang in there, but I mean,
yeah,
that was crazy. I mean,
it was a long day at night.
Yeah. I mean, you're in a great venue, right?
Yeah.
That was nice, at least, if you're going to be.
Yeah. We had a good view. Great spot. The crowd that stuck around from both sides. There were a lot of Atlanta United folks who stuck around. Great. It was loud. It was intense. It was a stupid fun game. It definitely turned into MLS After Dark. And you kind of expect it. I mean, I was telling Mike about this before we got started, restarted at that point. I'm like, you're going to have a ton of mistakes just because guys like focus is switched off, and you're going to have to try to get locked back into this mentally and get the body going as well. It's going to be sloppy and weird, and it's going to get strange.
It almost gets the feel of like a preseason game at that point, right? Like because, as you said, for all the reasons, you're not at your optimal, but I mean, it was MLS After Dark, I guess, at its best, and it's the team get to share the dessert there for their efforts.
Super sub Dom Dwyer, and then you have another injury for Atlanta United, Andrew Gutman. We think it happened. There was an aerial duel in about the 40th minute, and Alex Muil kind of collided with him from behind. And when Gutman came down on his right leg, you saw it buckle. It's an 8 to 12 quadriceps tendon injury. It's not a pull; it's an injury to it. That kind of timeline lines up with maybe a partial tear. But another defender, you want to include the goalkeeper in this, and your back 5. That is going to be out for a significant period of time. And everybody's been hurt to some degree. Franco's missed some games. Lennon missed most of the preseason. Kazan's gone. Robinson's gone. Gutman's gone for maybe 3 months. And they're still finding ways to get points at this point.
Yeah, that's the huge positive. I don't know how many teams in MLS would be able to do that, right? Like we've seen it from NYCFC, not as drastic or long-term the injuries as Atlanta are dealing with, but they're one of the few, I think, that can kind of roll with those punches and go with the next man up sort of mentality. But you really feel for Gutman because we saw the year that he had last year, great form with the Red Bulls, and comes back into the mix, has his starting job and playing well. Joseph comes back, which is obviously a positive, right? But you just can't. You almost want. Is it going to be one of those situations where you just going to wonder in October what could have been if this team was whole, right? Because it doesn't seem like it's going to get there.
No, it can't. With Robinson and Kazan out, you're going to be scrambling to some degree. Hopefully, Joseph is back to 100%. Of what he can be right now, but is that 100% what he was in 2018-19, right? Or is it a different 100%? We won't know for a while. He has been training. There was some footage of him scoring a goal in training yesterday, so that's very cool. Don't know if he factors in this weekend or if you wait until after the break, but it's just, to me, it's a credit to Gonzalo Pineda. And I think when you look at the managers who are new in the league, and we went through a bunch of different teams that like we're kind of getting to know these guys. Nagamura, I think they're showing a lot of positive in Houston. Ezra Hendrickson, there was early. Now it seems to be off the rails a little bit. There is some talent deficiencies there for sure. But Pineda is maybe the least talked about of the new managers, and he's had the most to deal with, especially this year, and he's keeping the ship afloat.
And here's what I wonder, right? Like, he was an assistant coach last year in Seattle, but we were talking about the same thing with Seattle last year, right? They had so many injuries and dealing with so many things, and they found that way to just be like, let's move on. Let's plug in the next guy and find results. So maybe that was just part of that culture that he has now bringing to Atlanta. But I think that's a good, good thing for Atlanta fans to remember, just that he was in this role literally a year ago as an assistant at Seattle with, Jordan Morris being out long-term and Nico Ladaro really not playing at all. Right. So same sort of, Stephen Fry was out for a good chunk of the year as well. So so many different guys being injured there, and they still figured out a way to get the results that they needed. So I think it's something that it seems like he's bringing that to Atlanta as well.
And with the offense up top, you've got Marcelino Moreno. Thiago Almada has been here the entire season. Luis Araujo, after scoring a goal, was out for a while, and now he's back. And I think that with all of these injuries and all of these concerns that you're having to juggle, with this firepower that you've got up front, obviously you're getting into that whole discussion of, yes, what could have been, but I think also with what you're seeing up top with the firepower, you're seeing what can be.
Yeah, and I think, again, the Joseph thing is the biggest question there, right? Like, when he comes back and then he starts combining with all those guys, what level of Joseph is he, right? I mean, we hope that he's the Golden Boot record goal scoring Joseph that he's been. And even if he's a little bit below that, I think it's still, with all of the support that he has around them, I think that could and should be one of the better attacking units in all of MLS, really.
Yeah, I think when you look at the supporting cast from 18, when Joseph was that guy, and you compare it to now, as good as Miguel Almiron was, he was one guy. And I think when you look at what Thiago Almada is showing already, what Marcelino Moreno does to impact games, and what Araujo does as well, I feel like it's more complete, and you don't even need Joseph to be, that unstoppable force. If he can be somebody who gets on the end of things and finishes goals and finishes opportunities, he's going to have plenty of them, it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, in the more recent history, he hasn't had that support, but now he'll have it more than ever, right? Like, there's more dangerous guys for opposing backlines to worry about. So perhaps, and Joseph does a great job creating his own space, but maybe now there'll be even more space for him to have.
When you look at, other teams in the East, let's just stick to the East here, that, you've got, we talked about the up and down from week to week, but let me talk about teams that are gradually working their way up and through. Who do you think is still in that progression that is working on the come, I guess, when it comes to the East? Who are you still looking at when it comes to upticks?
Good question. I think, I think NYC, well, certainly at the elite level is NYCFC, and you've got to give them props for just keeping on, right? Like, you wondered, and there's still a big question, what will they be without Tati, right? And you had a glimpse of it with, he was suspended for yellow card accumulation. So Ever steps in. And again, it's not a like for like. You play differently. Both of those two guys play a lot differently. I think Tati is such a unique player in MLS that, like, you can't just fill that. You can't just get a guy who does what he does, right? Like, 100%. The pressing and the winning balls, and then being a playmaker and getting into spots and scoring goals. That was never what Eber was anyway, right? Eber was the guy who just is the finisher, right? Like, he just puts things away and in and around the box. So great to see him get his PK. And yeah, that was a result. Like the only other time that they didn't have Tati in the lineup this year was a 0-0 draw against SKC. So, this was an important result for them to show that they could play without him. Now the question is sort of when. I think it's more a when than an if Tati goes.
Yeah.
What do you do with that spot, right? Like, is that a Talis Magno moving over? But I think he's so effective on the wing. Maybe it is just an Eber, right? Like, and he just, it looks a little bit different than what it was. But I wouldn't say that they're obviously trending up because they're already at the very top. Again, I don't want to start to believe because they're going to prove me wrong. But Miami, that was a great result, and they've had a couple of them now, right? Like the draw against Philly was good, and this was even better. Just really taking the game to Red Bull outside of the first 10-15 minutes or so, really looking like a much better team than the Red Bulls, and they earned the result that they should get. And you hear Neville kind of talking about Higuain and sort of, we know that he's frustrated, but he's looked great at training. He was a difference maker off the bench in that match. I don't know if I want to say, who knows if he's embracing the role, right? But maybe he's just realizing the role that he's in and knows that that's how he can change a match. I don't know. But I think that they've played well these last few matches. So they're a team that I would say is leveling up, John, as you were asking, but not quite sure. Like they're a team that could also like really plummet as well, right? So they're not showing that consistency that I was talking about earlier. That's so important for the elite teams in MLS. They're not there yet, but I think also it bears repeating. I feel like anything they get out of this year is a bonus because it's impossible almost to completely change over a roster the way that Chris Henderson and those guys did in a year. Crazy impressed by that. And then, listen, if you can be on the line and you can get maybe a playoff spot, or even if you just battle and you're a team that's alive in the last portion of the season, I think that's a big bonus for them.
So you're basically putting the hex on Miami because last week we did on Montreal, on Dallas,
Correct.
on Austin, like everybody that we talked up last week.
That's right.
Not a great week for them. So now you've ruined Miami's hopes this weekend.
That's right. That's on
tonight.
Yeah. Well, tonight in Open Cup, yes, but in the league play in the weekend, that's where we've had the effect of ruining people's hopes.
Did you guys hear the comments too that Neville said on it? And he's always a fun post-match interview guy, but Robbie Robinson, like he kind of put him out there and was like, he said we need him. He said he was very good in that match, but then he started talking about he's got to decide, does he want to get on this bus? And if he does want to get on this bus, he's got to be fit. Like he kind of threw in a few things there where was interesting from Neville. And this is after our win, right? Like after you beat the Red Bulls.
That's the best time to do it though.
At home, right? But yeah, he kind of lit the fire a little bit there.
When you do it after a loss, you're kind of piling on. It can just get lost in the shuffle of being down. When you do it after a win, it can have a little more impact. And I think the thing about Phil Neville, and the majority of people, I think, do not like him, do not think he's a good coach. That seems to be the overriding thing. I disagree with the good coach part. I think he is a good coach. I think he did a very good job with England's women's national team. I think he's doing about everything he can do with Miami with what he has to work with. But he's very calculated. That doesn't just get said randomly. It wasn't like a fleeting thought. Like that's definitely something that he's trying to make sure that Robinson hears, and I'm sure it's something they've talked about, but I think maybe it wasn't getting through the way he wanted. And same thing with things he said last year about, or benching the veterans, benching the high money guys, and then things he said earlier this year. He uses that opportunity with a microphone in front of him to make points to his players that maybe it needs a little more follow-up. And, that's not going to make everybody happy. It's not going to make Robbie Robinson happy, but is it going to get the desired result for the team? If Robinson's a true pro, it will.
And if it doesn't work out, we know that he has a potential future in MMA, right? So
we do know that. That is true.
He's not in the match tonight because of that.
That is true. And that's going to hurt them a little bit against Orlando, who also seems to have a future in MMA with all of their red cards. So Robinson might need to be in the stands ready to go just in case things get out of hand. I'm expecting at least 2 red cards in that game. I don't know if they're to the same team.
Yeah, I was going to say 1-1 or 2-0.
I'm kind of going 1-1.
Yeah.
But we could have a ridiculous, stupid night in that one. It's the Open Cup, so we'll have something stupid happen somewhere because that's what happens. And I'm sure this weekend will be nuts too.
It's the Open Cup in Florida between 2 Florida teams.
That's always a dangerous possibility. If only the Florida soccer soldiers were involved, we'd all be set. Dylan, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate it. What do you have coming up over at MLSsoccer.com and everywhere else you're working these days?
Yeah, man. Busy times. I'm not on tonight, which is nice.
You can just enjoy the madness.
I can, yeah, with a beverage maybe. Just sit and watch instead of having to worry about writing up a recap. So that'll be fun. Gonna take. I feel like a few people have done it, but like over at OSDB Sports, I'm gonna take a quick look at the Nations League coming up and sort of who's got the most to earn or show in those matches, and also those friendlies as well. This window to push themselves into possibly roster inclusion. And then I thank you for the retweet, but also for the folks who wanted to take out a pretty cool look at a guy who was a former Toronto first round draft pick, Brandon Aubrey, and now he's killing it in the USFL and maybe has a future in the NFL as well. So that's a fun look as well.
Yeah, didn't see that career path coming. Aubrey was Notre Dame, a highly rated center back coming out of college.
Yep. And it was pretty cool because he said a lot of what he did as a center back translated to kicking, which I thought was interesting. He said the long ball that you kick, it's motion-wise, it's obviously a different ball, right? And you have to hit a different spot, but motion-wise, the same when he hits a long ball as kicking off. And he said the pressure of a field goal, he took a lot of PKs when he was at Notre Dame in his junior and his senior season. So he said pressure, you're stepping up, everyone's waiting for you to kick the ball, and you want to score the point. So he said it's from a mental side of things, very, very similar.
Well, hey, if Robbie Robinson doesn't get fit, if MMA doesn't work out, he can go be a kicker.
There you go.
That could work. Maybe USFL's a route for him.
We know that he'll look to make the tackle on specials. That's for sure.
Yeah, he'll enjoy that part of it. Thanks, Dylan. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, boys.
Be good.
Make sure you are following him, Dylan_Butler, on the social medias. John, tell us about our good friends over at Eliminize.
I can certainly do that. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Rotor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's Eliminize service, deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. Eliminize has created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process that makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment. We like that these days. It's a very green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than our favorite masking agents that we have under the sink, because when we take that masking agent from out underneath the sink, spray it in the air, there's a reason you call it a masking agent, because all you're doing is masking the odor. You're not attacking the problem. The Eliminize service does that all the way down to the molecule with their proven scientific formula. Pricing is easy, one of two ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that is affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go. It's the website, eliminize.com. But do us a favor. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are talking to them from. So your full homework assignment is ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, eliminize.com/Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH.
Nicely done. Got lots of news and rumor and innuendo to get into today in the second hour of the show. Jarrett Smith will be back with us as well. Want to jump into Gareth Southgate, England national team manager, talking about all of the incidents on the field lately with pitch invasions. And you got, how many playoff finals do we have coming up in England? Three. That
actually, yeah, the National League one for folks going up, and then the other two because we've had the League One decided.
Okay, so I know the championship one is at Wembley. Are the others at Wembley as well?
Yeah, they do that as part of the whole collective and experience and everything. So everything drifts to Wembley.
Okay. Can Wembley prevent people from running on the field? They didn't prevent people from busting in the gates at the Euro final, so I'm just wondering. Gareth Southgate says that the incidents are systemic of growing issues within society. He's called on football to address the problem before it dictates changes to the match-going experience. So there's clearly a responsibility within football because when it is in our environment, we've got to do all we can to try and make sure it doesn't happen. He did say it's a wider problem in his behavior and a reflection on where we are as a country at the moment. It's a difficult time for people. We are going to have more difficult times because of the economy and the realities of the situation we are in. He gets into parenting after all of this. I don't 100% disagree as contributing factors, but going through a hard time doesn't mean that you should run onto the field and try to goad an opposing coach into a fight, or I don't know, smack an opposing goalkeeper, or I don't know, run as fast as you can into a player from the opposing team and headbutt them and potentially end their career. Not buying that as a valid excuse. I know what he's saying, and I don't think he's completely wrong, but this is not the conversation right now, in my opinion. The conversation right now is, and I would like to hear Gareth Southgate say, how can we protect these players and staff members on the pitch? You're not going to change whatever the issues are outside. You're not right now. You're not, sadly. How are you going to protect the people that are on the pitch? Because that's got to get sorted out first. And it's gotten past the idea of, well, maybe it'll die down or, whatever, it'll change. And no, it's happening. It's going to keep happening. You're getting copycats. It's just going to continue to go. They've got to increase the security. And I'm sorry, at Wembley, which did not do a good job with the Euro final, I am skeptical of this after especially the championship final, because that'll be a big crowd. That'll be a big crowd at that game, and can they handle it? Because people are going to try to run on the pitch. They're not going to not do it. They're going to try to do it. What needs to happen, Southgate, managers in the Premier League, players in the Premier League, national team players, these are the people who need to be out speaking about it right now, out in front of it. And is that going to make it go away overnight? No, it's not. We're seeing this in Mexico, where the federation, the national team, the clubs are working very hard to eradicate the chant. They've done a good job of that, but it hasn't completely gone away. Why? Because there's other things going on that cause it. You can't control that part, but you have to try. And in my opinion, that's the direction to go. And I don't want them to be, he says what happened before the Euro final, Southgate does, that wasn't just football supporters. That was people unable to behave, unable to control themselves when consuming alcohol. So there are many, many broader parts to it. They were football supporters. In this case, look, I've always felt like in England, the hooliganism aspects of it back in the day was not purely football supporters. You had people who were looking just to get into fights and cause problems, and it was cover for some of that. You see some of the issues with Bar Bravas and ultras and all of that are not about the game itself. People running onto the pitch because their team won, if they're not football supporters, they're not as engaged. I have to disagree with that idea that, oh, well, they're not really the true supporters. No, Sadly, some of these people are, and they're the people who have season tickets. That's about as supportive as you can get if they're going to invest that money and go to these games and do these things. So I don't think that's a fair thing to put it off on. The final, yeah, it's a little different, but not that different. And these people running onto the pitch, I mean, so far, these are people who are generally turning up to be season ticket holders. So, yeah, it is within the game, and you got to deal with it. And you got to deal with it with more security, and you got to deal with it with the threats of punishment. And those threats have to be severe. And for me, right now, the FA and the Premier League and the EFL have to get out in front of it with leading voices coming out and talking about why it's wrong, how it's wrong, and what's at risk if people don't stop doing it.
And it looks like in the last 10 minutes or so, it has come out that the FA will take no further action against Patrick Vieira after reviewing the incident on the pitch at Goodison Park. They're still investigating everything else surrounding it.
This is the problem. And this is the problem with the FA. And this is the problem that happens in this game too often. The reaction to that, there shouldn't even be a statement about that because it shouldn't have even been a topic. The idea that Patrick Vieira could be in trouble because, I don't know, he defended himself is insanity. Absolute insanity. People run onto the field and you don't know what they're going to do, and a player kicks at them or tackles them and the player gets in trouble, or the staff member would get in trouble in this case. Absolute, complete insanity. And people want to say like, oh, the steward in Nashville, they tackled the woman too hard when she was running onto the field. Don't run onto the field. Hey, there's a real good way that doesn't happen. Don't run onto the field. The steward didn't come to your seat and tackle you. You're not supposed to be on the field. Don't do it. Don't complain when you get tackled. Don't complain for the person when they get tackled. Don't complain for the people who got kicked by Patrick Vieira. Wish he'd connected more. It's absurd. Yes, they should defend themselves. Yes, if somebody runs into their place, their space, where they're working, or whether they just completed their work, and the first thing that leading outlets are going to go with is Patrick Vieira is under investigation for this. What Patrick Vieira he's being investigated for this. Well, no, that shouldn't even be a story because he shouldn't be investigated. And second, he should have kicked the person harder. Like it's got to stop. And why it continues is this kind of nonsense. We are not going to investigate any further on Patrick Vieira. What about the people who were in his face? What about the people who were on the pitch? Can we get an update there? The important part of the story? Idiots. Get these people banned. You want to come onto the pitch? I don't care what country you're in. This country as well. You want to run onto the pitch? You're not coming back to a game. Period. You're not coming back. And I know then what people will say, and this is what I hate in this conversation, because I know people will say, well, they can sneak in and they could go on the road and follow the team on. Make them work to do it. And if you find them in there, then you punish them even more with trespassing. That's fine. But I'm going to make it really clear to them and to everybody else. You run onto the pitch, you're not buying tickets anymore. You're not coming back. You're not getting in. If you do, then you're risking even more punishment. Like, do that instead of, Patrick Vieira is not going to be investigated any further. Duh. Because if you did, you'd be broken as an organization.
Find these people. Find out who they are.
They know who they are. Just ban them.
Do it quickly instead of sitting there saying, we're continuing the investigation.
Ban them. John, we don't need to say the same things we've said over and over again. I'm sorry, I probably did the same thing. We've got it. They got to actually do it. I don't want to sit here and waste more time and energy on England being stupid. They've got to get their ish in order.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can't handle a Euro final without violence before the game of people trying to break into the stadium and drunken morons running through the streets, and you can't handle post-game celebrations, they've got a lot of things to get in order, and they need to do it. And we can tell them they need to do it. They actually have to do it. I can't do it for them. Because if they don't, I would say somebody's going to seriously get hurt, but they already did. So, you might want to handle this because this isn't just even a new thing. Remember the fan running on and punching Jack Grealish a couple of years ago. This is a clown show. And until England gets it in order and gets it understood that when people run on the field, they're wrong. It's not about Patrick Vieira had kicked at this person. Oh, my goodness. Shut up. You should have kicked him harder. We're done. Just get it right, England.
You look at this stupidity and you just get to the point where you sit there and you want to yell at them and go, figure it the blank out.
I just did.
I know.
I mean,
I'm agreeing with you 100%.
I know. There's nothing else to say. Is what I'm saying. Like, we got it.
Yeah.
I did just yell at them to figure it out. Like, that's what they need to do. Do it. Like, actually do it, because I can't do it for them. Right. Nobody else can. The FA's got to do it. The Premier League's got to do it. And the league and the players and everybody's got to do it. And there's got to be strong penalties for the people that don't pay attention. It's got to happen. Speaking of England and everybody blowing up about Pep Guardiola saying that, I don't know, everybody in the media wanted Liverpool to win, and there's some bias there. Jurgen Klopp won the Manager of the Year award. Did he win the league?
No.
Did somebody else win the league?
That, I believe, happened, yes.
There was a different manager, right? I
believe that is correct, sir, yes.
I don't know. Maybe reinforces a little bit of what Pep was talking about. Just saying. I think it's the third time that a manager who didn't win the league won the Manager of the Year. There might be more than that. I would assume there'd be more than that, because otherwise, why have the award if you're just going to give it to the manager who wins the league? But there's a shifting of the narrative now, and the plucky upstart thing is back, which is very funny to me when you look at how much Liverpool has spent. And have they spent the same amount as City? No. Have they spent like an obscenely lesser number? They're not hurting for quality at Liverpool. They've run their club very, very well. But the idea now that, I'm seeing it start to bubble up so much more. What we've done is so much more impressive. Just go win the Champions League final, Liverpool.
Yeah.
So you can stop. That's actually not going to stop.
No, they won't stop them. Hey, the plucky upstarts succeeded when everyone else who was in their similar situation.
No, it's not. They don't do that about Real Madrid. They're going to then say, like, see, we're better than City because we won the Champions League, and they weren't even in the running to win it, except they were, which is one of the dumb comments. Just stop. Just embrace, Liverpool fans. Embrace being fans of one of the biggest clubs in the world, one of the best clubs in the world, one of the most talented teams in the world, one of the best managers in the world. Embrace that instead of playing this plucky upstart thing. Don't do it, because you're not. You're not. Brighton's a plucky upstart.
Mm-hmm.
Leicester was a plucky upstart, the ultimate of the plucky upstarts. Liverpool is not a plucky upstart. Arsenal would be a plucky upstart compared to you.
True.
And they're not a plucky upstart, so stop. Stop. You have plenty of money.
Embrace your investment.
You have plenty of talent. You have plenty of investment. Stop with the they bought a title and Did you guys buy the title that you won? Oh, no, you didn't, because you didn't spend this. Shut up.
As much.
Just embrace that you're fans of one of the best clubs in the world, one of the most highest spending clubs in the world, and one of the most talented clubs in the world. Just embrace that instead of the rest of the nonsense, please. Because you really don't have a leg to stand on. Because when any name comes up about a player, I don't know, like Kylian Mbappe. Who was Kylian Mbappe talking to? Liverpool was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Real Madrid and PSG. That seems to not be the plucky upstart category. Just saying. So don't do it. It's so dumb. Embrace what Klopp has done. Embrace the talent you have in this team, and stop with all the other nonsense, please. It's going to get worse. It's coming, especially if they win. If they don't win the Champions League, they're going to complain about, see, it's Real Madrid. They wanted to start a Super League. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were right there too, buddy. Like, come on. Like, stop. Stop with the nonsense. Speaking of nonsense. Don't dance to it.
I'm literally dancing to it right now.
We can't see you, which is okay. Are you a plucky upstart, Jarrett?
I don't know. It depends how you define everything, man.
Well, Liverpool defines it as not being the highest spender in the world, but being, I don't know, maybe like fifth. That's plucky
not
upstart.
City is a plucky upstart.
Yeah, fifth or fourth or whatever.
See, I feel like if you're following Rangers or Celtic, you are in that category because you are pacing your country in unbelievable numbers. But you do have a leg to stand on when you're comparing yourself to the giants of the world. But then when you look around you and everyone else is at your basically your ankle height, yeah, it gets really hard to make those arguments.
You can't make that argument either.
I didn't try.
I know.
10 times the level of investment.
Yeah,
you know what it
I
comes
know
down
compared
what
to
it comes
the rest.
down to is smart investing, and that's what Liverpool's done.
Yeah, no, I know. You can make that compared to England and other countries, but because you spend so much more than the other teams in Scotland, no, Celtic and Rangers fans can't do that.
No,
and when they do it to one another, it's absurd.
It's funny when they do it to another.
It's the same thing as Liverpool and City. It's like, stop. You guys are spending more than anybody else. You're the best two by a wide margin. It is what it is.
Celtics about to drop a lot of money to keep Jota long term, which is good because Jota's very, very, very good. And getting him to leave Benfica, which is, I believe, it's his boyhood club, is a huge coup for them. Also, Lelabata went double-digit goals and assists, and just didn't pay a bunch of money to get him out of Israel. Aiza Maeda was like 1.3 million. Just be smart about it. But those guys walk in and play for the big clubs in England? No. But they'll get the job done in Scotland.
They will. Rumors and innuendo in Europe right now. Chelsea, an 8-man list of defenders now that the takeover deal is done. Thomas Tuchel will be given as much as £200 million to spend on players this summer. I'm sure they're plucky upstarts.
Mm-hmm.
Jules Koundé and Josko Vardiol of RB Leipzig, Koundé of Sevilla are on that 8-man list of defenders. They need center backs. They're going to spend money on center backs. Chelsea will be fine. Marcus Rashford wants to stay at Manchester United. He's going to undergo some intense warm weather training in the U.S. next month, according to the Telegraph. Welcome to life in the South, Marcus Rashford. It's crazy. Intense warm weather training. That's called a day that ends in Y in July in Atlanta, Marcus. He's going to hit the ground running under Eric Ten Hag. Good on you, buddy.
Translation: vacationing on South Beach and working out on the side.
How is that a translation of intense warm weather training? Vacationing and intense training don't really go together, John. No, I was focusing more on the warm weather aspect of it. I don't think he's going to just sit on the beach and not train.
No, I figure he, as a part of his vacation, he'll do his warm weather training as well. It'll be an extended vacation. He'll get the running on South Beach maybe. You'll see the video on TikTok or Twitter where he's got the tire wrapped around him.
No, John, no, that's not going to happen. I don't think. This isn't Rocky in 1984. That was when Rocky IV came out, right?
That'd be winter. He'd have to do that in Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Well, he could go do intense cold weather training then, but he's not going to do that either. He's going to work out because he's got to get into the team under Eric Ten Hag. Newcastle interested in signing Jack Harrison, but they fear that the deal will be difficult to complete now that Leeds is going to stay up. They are also looking at trying again for Sven Botman, who has been linked with more rumors than anyone else in the history of the sport. Sven Botman linked again to Newcastle. Arsenal have held talks over a move for Victor Osimhen, who is second on that list of more rumors. Also looking at Gabriel Jesus, Arsenal. Juventus, they're trying to reinforce their squad after finishing without a trophy for the first time in 11 years. Angel Di Maria, Ivan Perisic, those are their primary targets. Gabriel Jesus also in the sights for the old lady, according to Il Corriere dello Sport. Jesus is in talks with Arsenal. Agent revealed earlier this month that 6 European clubs are interested in signing him. Paul Pogba is Juventus's main target to strengthen the midfield. His agent, Raffaella Pimenta, is also the agent of Luca Pellegrini, Moise Kean, and Matthias de Ligt, who are already in Turin. De Ligt is open to extending his contract, but he wants a lower than 125 million euro release clause included. So he wants to extend it, but he also wants
to be able to get out of town if he wants.
Yeah, a more reasonable number to get out of town, which is fair. Vincent Kompany at Anderlecht, he is set to leave. They're looking at other managers. Where Kompany will go will be intriguing. 2 proposals from abroad, according to Fabrizio Romano. He's one of those guys that you kind of had the inkling he would be a manager and had the potential to be a good one in his career. He's still very young as a manager, so we'll have to wait and see. But it looks like he will be leaving Anderlecht and leaving Belgium. And last one on the board, Salernitana would love to sign, according to their president, Edinson Cavani. He's leaving Manchester United. He'll be available on a free. There's been talk about Cavani going back to South America, but Salernitana would love to sign him. I don't know what kind of money he would be able to command at 35 at this stage. I don't know what kind of money Salernitana has to spend. But they have gone after the older veterans before, so this would kind of fit. And could he be productive in Italy? Yeah, I think he could. I think he's still got something to give. So Cavani would be an interesting one.
Am I crazy for wondering why he has never been linked to MLS at this point?
I believe he has. I think everybody's been linked to MLS at this point. I don't know how serious.
I mean, he's not been linked as much as Andres Guardado has, but
no. Well, that's a whole nother category. He's still coming to Atlanta, by the way. It's gonna happen.
Waiting, man. Just waiting.
It looks like one of the teams, what was it, Jared? The Guardian was saying that one of the teams that Kompany might be linked to is Burnley in the Championship to try to get them back up.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think he should take that one.
And
aren't they broke?
Yeah.
It's a very nice way to put it.
Yeah.
I was trying to be scientific.
Yeah. And then Fabrizio Romano has come out this morning and says that Zlatan won't be available for at least the next 7 or 8 months after undergoing knee surgery. AC Milan has announced that. So now Zlatan, this is according to Romano, Ibrahimovic will now decide whether to continue playing football or not. Current deal expires in a month.
Yeah, he's done. I mean, I don't see how. If he comes back, I mean, I think it would only be Milan bringing him back just to be part of the squad because they could afford to, and he would afford to do it. But I can't imagine anything serious for him at this point or any serious kind of minutes. I don't see it after another knee surgery. I don't know if this has anything to do with the surgery he had when he was at Manchester United. That was another injury to a knee that had already been repaired. I don't know if this is just where he is at this point in his career and age, but I can't see him playing anywhere seriously at a high level on a regular basis anymore.
Yeah, I figure if it's post-surgery, that puts him, 8, gives it January. So if it's anywhere, I think it's second half of the season, something in the January window, he signs and he re-signs with Milan and stays. Limited minutes off the bench, but I don't know if he wants that right now.
Well, what else is he going to get? Like, does he want that? I mean, I don't think there's going to be something else that he could get more. Yeah. I think that's about all there is outside of small teams that would just be trying to get a headline. I can't imagine there'd be anything more serious out there for him.
Yeah, the only other thing I could think of with him is, go back home where it all started.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a weird relationship there, though, so I don't know if that would go over well. I think Milan is home for him at this point, and I think that he'll be back there in some capacity.
Well, I mean, he was immortalized already, but that speech and table flip the other day pretty much put it in stone.
Yeah,
immortality.
I think that's where he'll stay. Fabrizio Romano also reporting that Tottenham are waiting for an important meeting with Antonio Conte to plan for the future. They have put forth money to be available for investment, £150 million. I don't know if all of that is available or some of it. But Tottenham are waiting to sit down with Conte. Spurs sources feeling optimistic about Conte's decision, waiting for his green light. They are going to get Fraser Forster as their new backup goalkeeper. That deal is apparently done, according to Fabrizio Romano. You're giggling.
I'm giggling.
Do you have thoughts?
Fraser Forrester, I don't know ever what to make of the dude. Like he has turned down being the number one in a couple of places just to be the number two all over the place. And it's like, dude, just man, God bless Joe Hart for coming north. Because Fraser, everybody they were trying desperately to get him back, get Forrester back in Glasgow, and I think he wanted to keep pushing in England to try and be a starter somewhere, and was not able to.
The 150 million pounds that have been put in, Tottenham made the announcement about it. Daniel Levy say that the move supports, quote, on-pitch performance whilst at the same time maintaining long-term financial stability. How is this structured, John? Is it kind of a loan, or is it bringing forward money from their investment organization? It's a little hard to follow Tottenham's business at times.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is you're taking it from one section and sliding it to the athletic side. I think that you're just doing something like this from one place to another and reorganizing what you have in the bank account. Okay. It's just you're just sliding it from one place over and having it's under this umbrella, and now you're moving it over to the athletic investment side is what I'm looking. If my
I don't know. That seems to be how you'd run a team normally, but it seems Tottenham's
what
weird
seems to happen versus what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why it's a big deal that they're talking about it in this way, as opposed to just saying what most teams will say is we're going to commit 100 million or 150 million or 200 million to be available for transfers this year.
Yeah,
like they made a big deal about this money being moved, whatever. Question for both of you. In Germany, this is becoming a discussion point now that Hertha has beaten Hamburg. Hertha is going to stay up. The promotion relegation playoff. The third place team in the second division plays the third worst team in the top flight. They brought this back in 2009. Only 3 times since 2009 has the second division team beaten the first division team for the spot. Fans are wanting a change. They want 3 up, 3 down, going back to what that was from 92 to 2008. What do you guys think? Do you like the promotion relegation playoff, or would you rather just see a simple 3 up, 3 down kind of a deal? John, you first.
I like it just for the sake of variety. I mean, I know that we discuss things, in one particular country, and you have the 3 up and 3 down, or 4 up and 4 down, depending on.
Yeah, there's 18 teams in the Bundesliga. I think that's why 3 is kind of the magic number as opposed to 4.
Yeah, and so you have the final 2 go down, and you just do something to be a little different. I don't mind it being different. Of course, I'm the guy.
But you're not getting 3 up, and like barely ever. You're getting 2 up.
It's like 2 up, and then the chance that third one can come up. And
3 times out of 13.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, that's all right. But I still think that what it does is it makes you different, and B, it gives you that opportunity to sit there and think, hey, on that day, we really could have a chance. And I know that folks are looking at Hamburg and what they've been able to be as a club, and they should be up. Well, then, maybe you should do better in Bundesliga, Bundesliga Bay, and, work your way up that way too. But I just like it to be different. I'm the kind of guy that will sit there and I'm rooting for the 16 seed in March Madness, or the 15 or whatever, for that opportunity to do something like that, or someone who's a play-in, the ones that play in Dayton on Tuesday, for the opportunity to work their way into the tournament in the field of 64 plus 4. So I'm all for the Dayton variant when it comes to March Madness. So I'm fine with what they do in Germany.
The Dayton variant.
Yeah.
Jarrett, what are your thoughts?
If Europe has shown me anything, it doesn't really give a damn about parity to begin with, because of the way a lot of the bigger leagues operate. With they're so damn top heavy about everything. I don't hate the idea of going to, even just 2 up and 2 down. I don't hate the way, like, for instance, and Jason, you're gonna have fun with this. I don't hate the way Scotland does it, because you have one that goes down.
Smaller league, so yeah.
Smaller league. You have one that goes down, and then the second from the bottom has to fight for their survival. It's the same thing, though, that a lot of times
They do the same thing as this, essentially. The second from the bottom plays a team from the second division for the first division spot.
Yeah. It's just because, like you said, smaller league, so it's two teams versus two teams versus three teams. It's probably going to be oftentimes an uphill battle for the teams trying to gain promotion from those matchups. But if y'all don't really care about the potential parity there, then I guess keep doing what you're doing. I personally, I think it's fun to see those matchups for when it happens.
Yeah,
but it does. It's not going to be a big deal. It's not going to be a thing a lot of times.
I think where I would be with it is in Germany. I would rather have that for a fourth potential promotion spot. I think with an 18-team league, 3 up, 3 down is a good number. I would have that and then have a fourth potential spot if you pull the upset, because it's an upset. It's a big upset.
Yeah.
Same in Scotland. I would do 2 up, 2 down and have a third one up for grabs.
No, so let's complicate this.
Scotland's harder because it's 10. You might not even want to go there because 3 changes to the division is a lot. But anyway, Germany you could, because I think 3 up, 3 down plus a fourth up for grabs would be okay.
So how about this concept, if we want to get weird with it, where you treat where you do, like, let's use Scotland for this example, since we're beating the analogy to death. So the bottom 2 go down. The top team in the second division goes up.
Yeah.
2, 3, and 4 end up in a play-in.
Well, that's where I was going to go. If you want to keep it 3 and 3 and don't put a fourth spot up for grabs in Germany, I would then have the third spot be between 3, 4, 5, 6 in the second division and create kind of what England does, where you get a playoff game that is tons of intensity. It's great watch. It's great excitement, but you're not limiting the number of teams that are going up that way. I think if you go back, if they go to 3 up, 3 down, the third up spot should be a playoff competition, and you could go 4 teams deep in it. Scotland could do the same thing. If you go 2 down, 1 up automatically, and then a playoff for the other spot going up, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and then not a matter of, okay, you won your playoff, now you have to play the second worst team from the top flight. You're up. That team's coming down. We're just going to have a cage match to see who gets to go up.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to get insane, which Scotland probably would like to.
Scotland loves getting insane.
Scotland's
structure is weird.
Here's your best of both worlds. So you do 1 up, 1 down.
Okay.
The other spot going up, down is a competition. So the second from the bottom team goes into the playoff for the other spot. So then it would be 2, 3, and 4 and 9 from the top flight that goes in. They would play 4, 2, and 3 would play. Then the winners would play in a winner take all.
Okay.
You want to do a hybrid and get completely stupid? There you go. Send that to Scotland, Jared.
I would love to. I'm still waiting. I am still waiting for the call from Partick Thistle, so I can become the demonic sun mascot.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the outfit's big enough for you, Jared.
No.
We find a way, because y'all don't want it. Like, people at Partick Thistle don't want to know how quickly I will relocate to be your mascot.
Yeah, I don't think they don't have an outfit that's big enough.
And I don't think they have the capital outlay to make that happen, though.
Yeah, probably not.
Liga
MX, the final is Atlas and Pachuca, 3-1. Pachuca coming here on June 14th in the AmFam Cup. They were the best team in the regular season in Liga MX. They could do the kind of double and being the best regular season team and winning the playoff final. That starts, Thursday? It's a Thursday-Sunday deal?
Tomorrow, actually.
Wednesday, Saturday.
29th, yeah.
Used to go Wednesday, Sunday with that, but they're going Wednesday, Sunday. So a little bit extra on that one. Should be a really good final. It's not the sexiest teams in Mexico. Of course, Liga MX probably hoping for a Chivas Club America or Monterrey Tigres final every single year. But this could be one of the best played finals in a long time. 2 really good teams. Speaking of Liga MX, Peter Holt is the owner of the San Antonio Spurs. He is among the prospective buyers to buy Querétaro Remember, Querétaro has to sell after what happened with the violence in the stadium. Grupo Caliente is currently controlling the team. They sold the team in 2020. The new owners banned from the league for 5 years after the incident in March. Grupo Caliente has until the end of the year to find a buyer, or the league takes over everything. Number of different bidders have come up. It's gotten pretty quiet as the season has gone on. Handful of Mexico-based groups. Nobody has really provided any specific names outside of Peter Holt of the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio Spurs also, and Holt family is the largest shareholder in the Spurs. They were recently valued at $2.05 billion. The club became the first to accept investment from private equity. 6th Street bought a 20% stake. Michael Dell bought 10%. That was a reported $1.8 billion valuation. The Spurs are the owners of San Antonio FC in USL Championship. Operate the stadium, 8,300 seats. They've played a bunch of Liga MX clubs. Querétaro, the city, is about 620 miles south of San Antonio. San Antonio is about 130 miles from the Mexican border. So it's an interesting one. He's definitely got the money. Now, this would be not the Spurs doing it. This would be Holt on his own. It wouldn't be owned by the Spurs. It'd be owned by Peter Holt. And whatever group he puts together. R.C. Buford, who's the CEO of the Spurs parent company, Spurs Sports and Entertainment, would be part of this potential ownership group. So nobody's going further than that, but reported by Sportico that Holt is going after Querétaro. And I would expect something to get done in the offseason in Mexico. I would think after we get through the final that something's going to happen with Querétaro. They need to get some progress on this issue going into the Apertura in the fall. And
you've got the symmetry there, trying to draw fans toward Texas fans toward looking at Querétaro if Holt does in fact buy, and then all of the venues where you could have all of the friendlies and things there, practices, all that integration is there. So it does make a lot of sense on a lot of different levels.
It just makes sense as a good investment. I mean, I'm a little skeptical of that side of it. I mean, outside of having a soccer team already under the Spurs umbrella, I think it's just a good investment because you're going to get a distressed property. You're going to get it at a great price probably. And with Liga MX partnering with MLS, I think Liga MX is a good place to buy into right now, a cheaper number to buy into it. And Leagues Cup is going to be transformative. So, you know, you know, you got to go back a little bit further on this. Remember, San Antonio and the Spurs, and I believe this was under the Spurs umbrella, not Holt by himself. They were going after MLS expansion, and then Austin jumped the line. What, John?
No, you're right. It was the Spurs as an entity chasing that.
Yeah,
expansion.
It was Austin jumped the line because of Anthony Precourt and him already owning a team. So they weren't going to add another team in San Antonio after Austin got in. So this is a way, because they were already looking at investing in a higher level soccer organization. That's why they bought San Antonio FC in the first place, or bought what was left of the San Antonio Scorpions and turned it into San Antonio FC. This is a way to continue that investment. It's something they've wanted to do for a while. And, you know, you would have the San Antonio FC team to be as maybe a feeder, be as a second division, be as not quite a reserve. It wouldn't be like a 2-team exactly, but you would assume they'd have some players come over from Querétaro and back and forth. Could get interesting for sure. But I think it's just a good investment at this point for somebody who's got a lot of money to invest.
Coco's asking, so should Holt move the team closer to the border, meaning Querétaro, or is Querétaro as close as you'd want to be, or be like MLS with Canada and have a San Antonio-based team in Liga MX?
Oh, you couldn't do a San Antonio-based team in Liga MX because, I mean, you had to get a lot of special permitting to do the Canadian teams in MLS. And at that time, they didn't have an option for Canadian teams anywhere. So you didn't have a Canadian league. FIFA would never allow a San Antonio-based team in Liga MX because there's a Liga MX. Like, there's teams in Mexico. So that's not going to happen. And there's teams in the U.S. and they have their own league. So that part's not going to happen. I don't know the lay of the land well enough in Mexico where they could move closer to the border that would actually make sense. I don't think it really matters. I'm not really thinking he's doing it so San Antonio Spurs fans would drive 2 hours to the border and then further to go to games. I don't think that's the case. So it's going to be about infrastructure and stadium and training facilities and all those kinds of things. And if he's got everything he wants in Querétaro, I think he would stay there. If he wants to go elsewhere, then that's what would decide it, not closeness to San Antonio.
And then a follow-up from Tom Cato. Do you think that the new group that we're talking about with Holt would acquire San Antonio FC from Spurs Entertainment?
No, I don't think they'd need to. I doubt they would need to. I mean, they essentially run it. So I don't know if that's not as good of an investment for them individually. This is not going to be a moneymaker. So I think they'd be able to do everything they'd want to do without owning it. So they would just do it the way it's currently structured.
And then Coco follows up asking, can Liga MX demand a relocation? Don't think staying in that town is a good idea.
Well, I don't know about that part. Again, just because there were some idiots there doesn't mean the whole town of soccer fans is a bad place to be. I don't want that to be an idea here. You would have to deal with whatever the Barra Brava has done, whatever. Obviously, I think from what we saw in that horrifying incident, you saw that they knew some people who knew some people or had some connections to be able to do some things that shouldn't have happened. I'm assuming that would have been the previous ownership and why they're banned for 5 years and why they can't run a team right now. So I think new ownership would be able to solve that issue. I don't think it's, again, I can't speak to the level of detail that I would like to hear about Mexico and going to a different city. Would it be a better situation? But I don't think it is something just specifically because it's in Querétaro. I think it was the relationship between the criminals who committed these acts and the ownership of the team who allowed it, or at least turned their head the other way. And I don't think it's Querétaro in and of itself.
Let's see. We've got folks talking about other stuff that we've brought up this morning. Jarrett,
what do we have for about 5 minutes or so?
Jarrett, when we were discussing playoff structures and things like that and how we'd like to see things, Bam is in, and Bam is watching us nightside. And Bam says, Jarrett, that Scotland had the perfect chance to do massive changes to the league when it shut down that full year due to COVID. And so SPFL, he thinks, dropped the ball and decided to just not do what should have been right at the time in changing the structure.
They had all the chance in the world. They had all the excuse in the world to do it. They didn't. Also, you're dealing with the fact that, and we've discussed this before, you have the old firm that a lot were about putting on each other to spite the other person's face.
The old firm's making you turn into a robot, Jarrett.
Okay. This is because I'm speaking ill of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they'll each other's
now you
face.
shut him off completely almost.
They'll cut each other's noses off to spite each other's faces at the expense of the league and the country as a whole.
Basically, yeah. They should have made more changes to the system and setup. They absolutely should have, but they also have to check their emails on things and, I don't know, have competent leadership, which it doesn't seem like Scotland has at the FA and league level.
Yeah. Neil Doncaster, Executive of the Year.
Totally.
DM Tim on our U.S. Open Cup discussion asks, is it still called El Tráfico if it's in the Open Cup?
Yes.
It has nothing to do with where the game is played in competition. It's just because it's the two teams, and it's dumb no matter where it's played. It's a dumb name. I will continue to drive that point home.
Couple of thoughts on Charlotte FC when we were discussing Open Cup. Burns said that the Fuchs signing never made any sense, and Coco was saying, was Fuchs supposed to be Charlotte's version of Michael Parkhurst?
That would require Charlotte actually having a plan, which I don't think they did well enough. Kind of roughly, sure. He was supposed to be their veteran defender, But he's a left back. And look, you don't see very many left backs at 36 years old go to a league that is faster paced and plays in the middle of the summer and have that kind of success. And I say faster paced because Fuchs, the last few years at Leicester, was not playing. So anything would have been faster paced. He wasn't playing a lot in his last few years there. So it didn't make a lot of sense to begin with. We talked about it so many times about tactically what you're going to have to do to protect him. The only way you could play him would be to put him at center back, but he's not a center back. And I mean, his giveaway led to Vancouver's goal. He got smoked by Jake Mulroney against Atlanta earlier this year. He's a liability for them. And all the leadership side that he brings, he's a liability on the field. And Parkey was nowhere near the same age and was having success, very, very high levels of success in the league that he moved inside of, as opposed to coming to a new place that he's never played and expecting it to work out. Didn't make sense. I agree with Byrne. I mean, we've talked about how, okay, it didn't make sense, but you got him. So what do you do? And they haven't found a way to make sense of it.
Let's see. Ricky Ricardo posted the link to the new Prime Blue kits in the Twitch pitch. So if anybody wants to take a look at how they're going to look for teams, please do. But he asks, Jason, are you and Mike going to be able to see the names and numbers on the parlay kits? Ours
Probably not.
Red on blue purple, but the Columbus ones look pretty rough.
Probably not. We'll be guessing. So when we are struggling with player identification, cut us some slack.
Those look rough, man.
If anybody at the Atlanta United roster would, I don't know, like to dye your hair creatively this week, go for it.
Yes,
different colors.
Follow George Campbell's example.
No, that John, and that defeats the purpose if everybody does that.
Well, everyone pick a different color.
Colors. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Just
don't follow his example.
George Campbell out there looking like Cisco, man.
He's a giant Cisco. Cisco's a little fella.
He's a giant Cisco.
he can't be a giant Cisco.
Concept.
No, you can't have that. Cisco's a little fella. George Campbell's just rocking the bleach hair. He's good.
Yeah.
Don't compare him to Cisco. George Campbell's more than a one-hit wonder. Sorry, Cisco.
Cisco's catching.
He was. Strays. No, he was. You brought him up.
It doesn't mean it's inaccurate.
You brought him up. I'm not catching. It's not a stray if it's a fact. As a solo artist, yes, he's a one-hit wonder. He had Thong Song. Yes, that was his one claim to fame. Unleash the Dragon didn't quite reach the same levels. As a member of Drew Hill, he had some hits. He had some good hits. Drew Hill was great. But solo, yeah, he had his one summer of fun.
Bam says, and since we've been discussing Open Cup, Bam says the U.S. Open Cup have dropped the ball with the new TV rights deal. International fans like him have to use streams to watch it, as they no longer offer it on YouTube like they have in past years.
Yeah, that's different than the TV rights here, and that's just dumb. To me, that's just not really paying attention to the potential of the product. Just put it on YouTube. I mean, like, for international audiences, geo-block it like you do for, I think USL does this on YouTube. Just do the exact same thing because it's the same people producing it. Do a YouTube stream for an international audience. If you're inside the United States, you can't access the YouTube stream. Otherwise, it's available. Like, do that. It's not hard. And you've got to, whether you're, in this case, it's US Soccer. It's not, MLS does a good job with their international broadcast rights. USL, I don't think there's a market for international broadcast rights. But what do? They put it out on YouTube for people. US Soccer, if you're not going to market the international broadcast rights, which you should, believe in your product and go out and sell it, even if you sell it for a low number, you're putting value to it. It'll grow. But if you're not going to do that, make it available on YouTube for people to watch. And then you can sell it down the road when you can say, hey, we had this many people watching and they were in these countries, and buy the rights for it next time. Like, you got to make it available. That's disappointing to hear.
When we were discussing the plucky upstarts with our England discussion, Coco is nominating Brentford for a new plucky upstart.
Yeah, everybody outside of Manchester City and Liverpool is a plucky upstart at this point. Newcastle won't be for long. Chelsea won't be probably before the season starts. But outside of the two who have dominated the league for the last 5 years, everybody's a plucky upstart. Liverpool's not a plucky upstart. Brentford, everybody. Leicester is a plucky upstart compared to City and Liverpool. Brentford obviously is. Arsenal's a plucky upstart compared to them. Tottenham is a plucky upstart compared to them. Everybody, because the league is 2 and then another group of about 4 or 6, and then everybody else. It's not a big 6 or big 4 or any of those other things that they've tried to sell it on. It's not that anymore. It's 2 teams at the top, by far, well ahead from the rest of the group. So, no, Liverpool's not a plucky upstart. Everybody else in the league is.
And Not Your Aunt Martha says that soccer/football seems to be so obsessed with spend being a bad thing compared to other pro sports.
Yeah, I'm assuming that Martha's referring to an article in The Athletic about trying to use a metric that is not entirely accurate in terms of measuring a player's impact. I'm sorry if it says Lucas Zelarayan is not impactful. It's not an entirely accurate metric. Using that to try to justify that spending money on players is bad. You spend money, and we've had this conversation about buying young players. You spend money on potential, and this is a worldwide thing in the game, and it doesn't always turn out. Sometimes you get right about what you pay for. Sometimes you buy in to a player who then progresses and you sell for more. Sometimes that player doesn't meet the level that you paid for. That's sport. That's life. That's the system that we're in. That's the game. That's how it goes worldwide, and MLS is no different. Facts are, and this is just real talk, any country in the world, and MLS is the outlier in this. Mexico is an outlier as well because of their playoff system. Other leagues that have some form of a playoff are less of an outlier. None of them are as impossible to predict as MLS and Liga MX. But leagues that don't have that, you can pretty much draw a straight line, and nothing in life is an exact straight line, but you can pretty much draw a straight line from who spends the most money to who wins. Facts. MLS, you're never going to be able to do that because it has a playoff, and it has a very up in the air, chaotic playoff. Liga MX has a less chaotic playoff, but it has chaos because it's a playoff. If you're playing 38 games and the best team wins, the best team during those 38 games, more often than not, it's going to be one of a small number of teams that spend the most money. And England backs that up. France backs that up. Spain backs that up. Italy backs that up. Although what Milan did this year, very impressive, but Juventus' spending has dropped off a little bit and the door opened a bit. Germany backs that up. Portugal backs that up. Belgium, it's the same teams who win every year. Netherlands, it's the same teams who win every year. I mean, go down the list. Austria, like all of them. That's the game. So this idea that like spending money in the game is bad, go tell the rest of the world that, because that's what runs the game. In MLS, there's nothing that can overcome the chaos of playoffs. You can, and a salary cap, by the way, that's obviously a factor in MLS, but you do have levels of spending in MLS. They're just not as wide as in other leagues, but you will never be able to replicate any of that in MLS because of a playoff system. The team that spends the most is not guaranteed to win every year. Because of the cap, the team that spends the most is not guaranteed to win the regular season every year, and the regular season isn't a balanced schedule anyway, so that doesn't even necessarily mean as much. It's chaos. Chaos is parity. Chaos brings more teams into it with an opportunity to win it. I actually really, really like that. It's more interesting to me than, okay, which team is going to win the Premier League next year, Manchester City or Liverpool? Go ahead and pick one, because it should be one of the two. Mm-hmm. Chelsea maybe can play into that. Newcastle can eventually, because they'll be able to spend at the same level. Who's going to win the Bundesliga next year? No, you don't need to flip a coin. Got it, Bayern. Who's going to win in Spain? Probably Real Madrid. Maybe Atleti or Barcelona could make a run. Probably Real Madrid. Who's going to win France? PSG.
Mm-hmm.
Italy? That's a little bit of a toss-up. Again, you might have a couple teams in toss-ups. Italy's been the most compelling of all these other leagues in Europe. But in MLS, who's going to win this year? I don't know. I mean, Montreal and Dallas are two of the best teams in the league, and they got beat this past weekend. So I have no idea. That's just the nature of it. And the idea that spending money is bad is I don't know why people who are covering MLS would try to put that out there as it being a bad thing, because on the flip side, then the other argument is if they don't spend money, they have no ambition. And why do they have a team? They're just coasting on the teams that spend money, and then you're like punching yourself in the face. So why? Or the league needs to get better, so they have to go get better players. And then it's like, okay, well, if you spend money, you're not getting better players, but you are getting better players, but you're getting it to try to get an investment in somebody who could be sold later, or just get good performances from that player. It's not a straight line with any of it. And no investment is a guarantee, especially in a player who is young in this league. You got to look at the coaching and the clubs and how they develop said investment. And you also have to look at the crazy, chaotic nature of MLS as a whole as to who wins and who is successful. And there's a lot of things that go into it, more than just spending money is bad or doesn't guarantee winning, because the response to that in MLS would be duh, because nothing guarantees winning in MLS.
And the question that has always been
last one from you, because we got to go.
Oh no, I was just gonna go Michael Valverde.
I'm just telling you, like, we got to go. So last one for you.
Michael Valverde says he thinks Pep's comment about the league championship being harder than Champions League title cost him.
Probably, but people have had it out for Pep in general. He's right, by the way. Winning the league is harder than winning the Champions League. It's more games. It's tougher. The Champions League, again, is more of a toss-up. Again, it's a playoff system. It's a tournament format, so chaos can happen. If Pep opens his mouth, it costs him in England. Klopp plays more to the media, not always. He'll go at them too, but he plays a little bit more to them. Pep could care less, and a lot of the media in England don't like Pep. They didn't like him coming into the league to begin with, which was insane, because he's the best coach of the modern era. Not to say there aren't other good ones, but he's the best. And it's like, oh, you can't succeed here. Shut up. He has. He's an amazing coach, and I agree with him. And in those leagues, compared to winning the Champions League, yes, the most impressive accomplishment is winning the league. Even in a French league, it's still an impressive accomplishment, because you got to do it. You got to do it over 9 months. You got to do it dealing with injuries. You got to do it dealing with everybody out to get you, all the different things. It's hard. It's harder than winning the Champions League. The Champions League is an amazing tournament, and it's an amazing accomplishment, but it's a tournament. It's not a league. And Pep was right. And if that upset people, and that's why he didn't win the Manager of the Year, well, I think some people in the English media might need to get over themselves. And you can go ahead and clip that one and just play it on a daily basis.
All right. That was the last one, sir.
All right. Got to go. No stoppage time today. Scheduling conflicts on both Mike and I, on both of our sides. So no stoppage time this afternoon. If you have not checked out Soccer Files, please do. Last night, I dropped it about almost an hour of how Atlanta got pro soccer back in 1979, and how Denver, Colorado, and the rock band Chicago, and the future governor of the state of Washington had a hand in all of that. So listen to Soccer Files from last night and learn a little something. We'll be doing more of those as we go. A bunch of other content dropped, Premier Proper, USL updates, lots of stuff. Check it out on the network. We're back tomorrow morning. Nico Moreno will be joining us. We got lots of Open Cup to recap. All the things tomorrow at 9:05. Thanks to Kickoff Coffee. We'll kick off the show tomorrow with them. And thanks to Eliminize, and thanks to all of you. We'll see you soon. Bye. Mucho platiel.
Mucho platiel.